Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are across the globe. Welcome to the Making Money Trading Stocks and ETFs. Joining us from Zurich, Switzerland today is Michael Bishop. And Michael was just telling me that he had gone for a swim, right, Michael? Well, you went for a swim, but you go, wait a second, it's too cold. And so you cut your swim short, and so then you came and got on the call, right?
Exactly, that's it.
And so I was sharing with him, being over here in Hawaii now, of course, 365 days of swim if you want to, blah, blah, blah. And so definitely an outdoorsy place. But one of the things that I do love about living over here is all the old football injuries and sports injuries that I have that when I get around cold weather, they just really come up and bite me. They're not as bad here. And so I want to remind everybody that all the materials we do present are for trading purposes only. Traders should always paper trade any new method prior to the risk of their own personal capital. There's a little bit about me and the things that I've done and continue to do. I'm continuing both myself and I know Michael does some research on his own. I know Mike Traeger does some research on his own. And, of course, I'm constantly doing research, probably when I was a research assistant back when I was going to grad school up in Cal. What an interesting place. But anyway, I just love to do research, and all research comes up, generate both answers and questions. And so anyway, that's a little bit about where we are. Hey, I want to remind everybody the old Jesse Livermore adage, buy right, sit tight. That he made most of his money when he was basically held a position for a long time. That's ultimately what we're driving for with the active trend trading system, to get into not at swing trades as much as, although we will take those for capital or for cash flow and that kind of stuff. But he liked to get into trend trades that would last for sometimes, months and going on into years. And that's where he made the majority of his wealth. So I want to remind everybody that, how to make money trading stocks. Our objective is to provide timely, actionable intel. Review at the end of and review that at the end of the week. We do a market review, stocks and ETFs that potentially are setting up going into next week, and of course our premium members get the triggers and all that kind of stuff that we call on the through the active trend trading service. And then what else? So here's where we're sitting as of about 9 o'clock this morning on September 15th. The markets are up. They're up both for the year and also above the highs from last year. Russell seems like it has it in gear and is trying to catch up with the rest of the market. And so that's where I'm looking. I'm looking primarily at Russell and the strength in the NASDAQ for additional trades. Pleased with the active trend trading service and how we're doing there. I want to call the attention before we go and look at the charts. I found this video here. It's a very interesting video. Somebody sent it to me on my Facebook channel, Facebook page, and what it is this guy, the backward brain bicycle. This engineer, this guy, his mechanic designed this bicycle, and I'll play just a little bit of it, and hopefully you can see this. I'm hoping you can see this, and I'll tell you what, I'm not going to blow it up because I don't have the right filter in there, but I'm going to just let it go for a little bit. I don't think you'll be able to hear it, but I want to show you what the mechanics of this look like. You see as he's taking a look at it, here's the welder. And the way he fixed it is he has this gear in here so that when you turn left, the wheel turns to the right. When you turn right, the wheel turns to the left. And the bet was, you can't ride this bicycle. And sure enough, the guy gives it a go. And he gives it a try. And all his training, he's been learning a bicycle since he was 3 or 4 years old, and he almost falls on his butt every time. And he goes around and he makes these presentations. It's really interesting. And I'll stop it right there. The essence of this, I encourage you, find this video, listen to it, learn from it, because there's a direct correlation to learning how to trade in that video. The thing is, it took him, he did eventually learn how to ride the backward bicycle, Michael, but it took months for him to learn how to do it because it was so out of sync with the biases that he had developed throughout his whole life for the right way to ride a bicycle. And so, as I was sharing with you earlier, trading is a lot like that. There's no other, oftentimes they talk about how trading, the experiences of our life can actually sometimes be counter to our ability to trade and trade well. And that's part of the deal is, learning how to basically re-engineer our brain and our mind in order to be able to trade well. And so I know you said, yeah, there's, you can recognize that what's going on in our trading also. And the interesting thing, Michael, on this video is after this guy who made the talk, the engineer, had learned how to ride the backward bicycle, he wasn't able to ride a regular bicycle again.
Yeah. Not very surprisingly.
Yeah. And what happened was he went to someplace in Europe and was, trying to, and it took him a little bit of time, not as much time as it took him to learn how to ride the backward bicycle, but for it to click in to how to ride the regular bicycle again. It took a few tries for that to happen, like a 10 to 15 minute period. The other thing he discovered as he was going through this exercise was that his son, who was about 6, 7 years old, his son, because his pathways weren't as deeply ingrained and his biases weren't as, with regarding riding a bicycle, learned how to ride the backward bicycle quicker than he did. I mean, it took his son just a few hours, where it took him, days, if not weeks, to learn how to do it. And I say that as a lead up into the Bay Area Moneymaker meeting that I'm doing tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning Pacific time. What it's going to be about is how our limiting beliefs impact the way we trade, and where we can actually self-sabotage ourselves. And so if you want to dig into that, and I'll be introducing also a couple of other triggers for early entries on weekly charts and that kind of stuff. But primarily I'm going to be focused on helping people get themselves squared away with the concept of what was I going to say? Of kind of re-educating, relearning. The ancient text says renew our minds, and it requires that. It requires renewing our minds to learn how to trade properly. Hey, let's make a quick stop here by the S&P. Here's how the markets are doing. One, S&P pushing up into it, it's at resistance and been going sideways for the last 4 days. Kind of a surprising move, Michael. I was actually surprised because it looked like we were digging down and going to head down, into a more significant pullback after last week. And on Monday we get a rebound and it shoots up to new highs. And we actually have a breakout above this. And as long as that 2491 level remains intact, this breakout may have some legs to push even higher. We are pushing up into an overbought condition on the TSI, and it's starting to bump up into, as you can see, we've got negative divergence definitely going on the weekly charts. But we'll just be monitoring, seeing if we're going to get a pullback into the 2480 level. And for me right now, Michael, is I've got to force myself into buying the pullbacks. And sometimes, and you guys who have been doing pullbacks with me for quite a while, you know how challenging that can be sometimes. We just, our minds just don't want to see it, and we don't want to take that, what we think is a risk. But in this case, with S&P has been a pullback type of stock for an ETF for quite a while, or an index for quite a while. So that's what I'm seeing going on here. I wouldn't surprise me to see us pull back into the moving averages. And that's what I'm hoping to happen goes into October, simply so we'll get a good bounce for the end of the year rally. So, Michael, you see anything here on the S&P that is shocking?
No, I mean, as you said, it's pretty astonishing how strong it is. But I mean, if you follow day by day how the market is reacting on bad news, then it's not that of a surprise. I mean, currently every day the world does not collapse is seen as a positive sign.
Yeah, every day that we don't blow ourselves up is a positive sign. So yeah, I agree with that. And what's really interesting is, and Mike Traeger's talked about this a little bit, is that it seems like there are forces involved that are dedicated to making sure this market doesn't go down. Now, from a purely technical standpoint on NASDAQ has pushed up to, kind of pushed up to a new high, because we didn't get much of, we got 2 days closing above this old high, the 59.93 level, and then it's bumping its head there. We've got negative divergence certainly showing up here on the TSI, on the momentum. The market forecast is pushing up to new highs. Again, negative divergence on the on the weeklies. A little bit of a breakout on the momentum itself, but on the TSI. And so NASDAQ, I'm just sitting there going, okay, I would like to see NASDAQ give us another, again, a really good pullback down here to a lower level before bouncing higher. Russell has been definitely an excellent surprise. We got a pullback last Friday into the moving averages, and it has definitely bounced higher, took out this high, so that makes the 1414 level a level of support, but it's also finding support at, and what's interesting is, just go ahead and throw in your line, your line across here, and then we'll shoot that over to the left, and we'll see how that extends to the left. There we go. And as you can see, that 1422 level has been an area of past support, and look at it, it's highlighted by this swing high over here. And so that's been going on for quite some time, as we see extended over here into the weekly chart. And so it is pushing up, hasn't made up to a new high, so everything looks in gear nicely on the TSI. We are extended. We are over 2 ATRs away from the 20-day moving average, so it wouldn't be surprised to see us, in the near future give a pullback either to the 8 and or the 20. So that's what I'm seeing on this, Michael. Anything else on the Russell?
No.
And Mike, you made an interesting comment as we were starting that there may be some potential housing bubbles going on in Europe right now, because you've got a lot of things like we've seen over here in the States where people are doing, trying to flip houses, and a lot of educational programs and all of a sudden it's a hot commodity to be a flipper.
Yeah. I think mentally, people, including regional banks, have given up that interest rates will strongly be positive in the next years.
Okay.
And so they're hunting after everything that can be hunted.
Okay, I see. And so yeah, and
if we quickly speak about Europe, I mean, I have one really big event has happened, and that is that the British pound had a huge run this week.
Okay.
And I don't know, but it's kind of so it's the after Brexit, it's by far, or basically you could say it's the first strong up move after Brexit. You can enter FXB, and I just entered yesterday a little spread that just paid off.
Okay.
And a little bit unsure if I just close it or
on the weekly chart. On the weekly chart, it definitely looks like it is going back up into an uptrend. What's the dollar equivalent? What's the dollar doing? What's the dollar? Is there an FXD or something like that?
UUP. That's the major currencies against the dollar. The dollar, that's also a very interesting thing.
Wow.
Because you can go, I think, back 2 years or even more, and that's really, really a critical level here. If we get a rebound, then maybe the whole decline is over. If not, there is, or at least I don't see any button there. Yeah, you see.
Yeah, I mean, it's because this goes back to 2012. You got some support down here at 23, but definitely has broken this 24 level, and could potentially pop back up. Another things that people are also watching is FXY, which is the yen.
Yeah.
And the yen itself looks like it's getting to a place where, it may want to bounce, although it's getting a good sell-off today. And
and euro looks very similar.
Yep.
That's FXE.
So, and what does that tend to mean? Okay, typically if the yen is going down, typically the U.S. market's going to go up. So if we're going to get a bounce in the yen here, we could have some selling off on the U.S. market. So anyway, interesting stuff.
But I think it's the other way around.
Oh, okay.
If U.S. investors close their stock positions, they go into yen and euro and maybe Swiss franc.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If the yen goes up, oftentimes that's an indication that the market's going to go down. The U.S. market. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Or the other way around. If the market
goes up, the yen goes down. Right?
No, I would say if the market goes down, the major world currencies except the dollar go up.
Yeah, okay. We're saying the same thing. Trust me.
Okay.
Okay. Because here's last October when the market started to go up, to rally, the yen goes down dramatically, and then it's kind of stagnated across here, and so we'll see what transpires from there. Let's see. I want to get us back on track. Okay, so here's what I'm looking at: IWM, QQQ, SPY, September weakness. Where is it? I'm still looking for that. Nugget, GDX, I'm looking for a pullback in for that to get a, and if the market does go down, that typically gold does try to go up, and these are the gold miner things. I still like Netflix, TSL, and Tesla and NVDA for my three main stock picks. I like YY, CRUS, and LGIH. My catfish special for the week, my bottom feeding delight is still QIWI, Kiwi. And I'll review those really quick. And then I'll remind everybody, September BAM meeting, webinar, September 16th, that's tomorrow, 9 o'clock in the morning. And I will include a link when I send out the information on for where to get the recording on. If you want to connect into the BAM group tomorrow morning for for September dues, you can do that. That way, you can also watch the webinar is the video as often as you would like. And so it's about removing limited beliefs to become a master trading, or I'd like to say, just how do you stop shooting yourself in the foot? And those of you who are on our Wednesday night trading, this is a different training than we did on Wednesday night, just to let you know. Here's where we're sitting as of about 9 o'clock this morning. The strategy 3 looking good, strategy 1 starting to pick up. I'm looking for a big surge in strategy 1 when we get into the October time frame. I remind everybody, and I'm keeping an eye on the seasonality. And what we have done is I have completed my analysis of the seasonality for. Yeah, let me get this for the seasonality of the S&P when the early and the late period for when this turnaround happens, and typically this range is right in here. So somewhere within that 2-month period between the last part of September, actually into the first part, I want to say the first part of December, is when the Santa Claus rally at the end of the year tends to start. So I'm still waiting for, of course, this part. Again, the market tends to sell off into the end of the year. Since today is monthly option expiration, and that artificially props up the market for a week, we are out of that come after the close today. So we'll see if we get a little bit of a sell-off or a little bit of weakness back into a level of support, drive a little bit sideways, and somewhere in the sweet spot for the rally into the end of the year was from about October 15th through the first week in November. So that's valuable information to know and be ready to trade when the opportunity presents itself. So lastly, the reality of trend trading. And active trend trading system, basically we're all about the 5 pillars of trend trading. Basically we help traders know what to trade, when to enter, when to exit, what strategy we're going to use, and what to expect. Here's a new item that we have taken ourselves, and we put this out on a weekly basis, sometimes multiple times a week. We cover it again on the weekend, and then we cover it on Wednesday night. And what it does basically is it tells whether or not we have an actual setup as defined by active trend trading setup, but then under the comments, I'll sit here and I'll specify, okay, here's what I'm looking at. Here's what will get me into a trade or trigger me into a trade. So sometimes, just in case I don't get the alerts out, the premium members have an idea of how they want to trade it. I want to call your attention right here. NVDA, I said, look for a support off the 8-day moving average. This was on Wednesday. Well, Thursday, and I just want to pop this up really quick, Thursday, we get an excellent move off of NVDA. If we could write NVDA into the, and so this is kind of a nice little bonus, I think, for the premium members, is we get, here's Wednesday, the 13th. On Thursday, we get basically a bounce off of the 8-day moving average, which is that purple line, which is right about $168, and then we've run so far. We get them, it just rips out of their higher buy signal. Today, Thursday, and if we just take, how much of a run, if somebody picked it up right off of the 8-day, a nice little 6.75 run within a day. Now that this has already triggered, what we've been looking at is we'll put this support in here at 175. That will be our level of support that we'll look at for starting to position up. So again, those members who were paying attention to what the table said, they may have entered a trade right there at the 168 level. So that's one of the benefits of being a premium member. So anyway, Michael, that's all I have for today. 2017 continues to just be a season of seasonal growth, of explosive growth. Sorry. And so I'm going to conclude. I may take a look at just a couple of charts. But premium members, hey, we'll be up at 12 noon for the final hour. And so, Michael, anything you want to just throw out there that we need to be paying?
If you want to see an aggressive chart, then you can enter SQM. That's a play on lithium, and there are rumors around with Tesla and other e-cars that we run out of lithium.
Yeah, look at all of the buying. I would go in and do a. I'm gonna highlight this stock and look at it for potential pullbacks in the near future. Because this is way extended. This is if the Keltner channel is 2 ATRs, this is probably like 3 or 4 ATRs away from the 20-day moving average, and there will be a pullback eventually. But when pull back into here, and this buying here, that is definitely not mom and pop just going out and buying a few hundred shares. This is institutional support, and you can see a nice breakout there. And I like that. I like that 50 level. Yeah, nice looking chart, Michael. That's good. If you are Kiwi, I will throw that up there. Pay attention to Kiwi. We're getting a nice little pullback. This could turn out to be a nice, low volume pullback. This could be turn out to be just a really nice little bull flag. And if it stops prior to getting all the way down to the bottom, that would constitute a higher low, and therefore that's the initial point for a potential uptrend. And had some good buying in there. The other ones that we're taking a look at, and then we're going to bug out. You got any other charts there, Michael?
Not really. Baba and Baidu are doing very well still, and Oracle had their earnings today.
They got whacked after.
But I think that the uptrend is still intact.
Yeah. LGIH, we highlighted it a couple of weeks ago. It's got a kind of counter conflicting information. You've got the TSI ticking up here, but looking like it wants to roll over. But then we've got TSI pointing down on a weekly chart. And so if I extend this down, this shows that, if it keeps pushing down, it would get to the zero line about the 16th of October. But it is holding up right there at 820, and everything's in the right direction for a rebound. The other one I will call your attention to is Netflix. Netflix is putting in a really nice, at least cup right now, partial cup. We'll see if it puts in a handle and then rebounds higher. Whenever you get this pullback from a new low, from a new high, just take your trend line, move it up, and bam, there. Now we would have our potential early entry point is a break above this line or a close above that line. So, okay, Michael, I'm okay. NVDA. And that's all I have for today. Folks, thank you so much for joining. If you do want to plug into tomorrow's BAM meeting, I will provide that link when I send out the information on the recording for this webinar. So, and the recording to this webinar. So, Michael, I bid you adieu. And let me go back to my, there we go. So I want to remind everybody, until Monday, when we do the After Market Mondays, aloha, trade wisely, trade profitably. Thanks, Michael.
Okay, bye. See you. Have a nice weekend.
Okay, God bless everybody.